A little Motley Crew for you on a Saturday morning. How you doing?
Oh, yeah.
We start at 9. Be on time next time. My voice seems to be holding out there. Sorry. I might be able to do both hours. Or not. 339-1140. We did not get a quiz winner yet. So let's reset our question. Our numbers again, 339-1140. 1-800-920-1140. Or you can text us the answer to 441140. A U.S. postage stamp is currently 45 cents. The highest in the world is Denmark, and that, right? Is that the question?
That is correct.
So what is the
cost?
What is the cost of a
first-class stamp?
There you go, first-class stamp in Denmark, and it's up there. That article, let me see that for 1 second. I was gonna key off on that a little bit. I totally agree with this entire article. This article just really talks about the mail carriers, and there's 300,000 members, mail carriers in this country, which seems like a lot until you start thinking about all the little routes and things they've got to run. But they are pressing and trying to take control of their own destiny. And what they're really trying to do is get rid of the kind of that multi-layered government system that they have and get more of a corporate board, run like a business. And I think this is interesting because 2 weeks ago we talked about ending Saturday delivery, as a way of cutting costs. And I thought, okay, if I don't get mail on Saturday, that's fine. I don't really care. If that's going to save them some money, if I can keep our postage rates from going up. Well, the carriers totally disagree with that whole concept and feel it'll just lead into more and more declines. And so they want to, and they do have a point. There's no other entity in the world that's better suited that touches every single household in this country, because by law, they have to. I mean, they have to at least, they don't have to necessarily deliver to your physical address, but they have to be able to get a hold of you. So they have the ability of getting out to every single household in this country, and they're looking around and saying, that's a pretty valuable commodity.
Yeah.
We've got the plants, we've got the trucks, we've got the people, we've got the distribution facility. So let us run like a business. And that's a very interesting concept because they could do a lot of cool things in addition to bringing you your mail and get into some corporate sponsorships and do other joint marketing.
Sure, make the change for the times we're going through.
Yeah. So I'm all for it. I mean, I think that that if the mail carriers and they want to put together a typical traditional business, and the price of stamps is going to go up because right now we are subsidizing in this country the delivery of mail, and you could say right or wrong. I think it's right. I mean, we not everybody has email, and people need to be able to get their mail. But if we want to cut them loose and say you guys are a business, you're the Postal Service, Inc., and their price of stamp might be $1, might be who knows what. But in other countries, I'll give you an idea. Like in Hong Kong, the stamp is 18 cents. In Israel, it's 42. In Liechtenstein, it's $1.06. In Norway, it's $1.25. And Denmark is our highest, which we'll leave that out there. Have you got no answers? People they can't guess numbers, huh? So it's more than $1.20, $1.29 for Denmark. So anyway, I agree with that whole article. I think the Postal Service should be allowed to run like a business. And what happens with real businesses? They succeed or they fail.
And if they fail, somebody comes in, rebuilds them, makes them better.
Well, or we'll be getting our mail from UPS and FedEx. I mean, they'll come up with a letter delivery. I mean, somebody will fill the gap. They'll make it. They'll make it work one way or another. They'll either come up with their own. They'll decide to ditch Saturday on their own. The stamp will be 75 cents. There'll be 100,000 carriers. I don't know.
I was at the post office just this week mailing something, and every time I walk into a post office, there's a line. There is a line of people mailing boxes, different parcels, you name it.
Well, so at the moment they're probably cheaper than the FedExes and the UPSs.
Sure. Now
I don't know how that would be if they were competing, apples for apples with FedEx and UPS. Probably pretty close. So we'll see. I think that's one thing you can keep your eye on. I think you'll see that slowly morph its way into a regular business as we try to find a way as a country to let go of certain expenses and get our deficit down, and we're going to raise some income probably, but we got to shed some expense. If we don't do both, then we're going to be in trouble.
Yes.
Off the text line at 441140. Jeff, do you know what companies what equity and money companies for real estate developments, similar to a REIT, can you get a loan for real estate development, looking for institutional lenders and investors for a startup real estate developer? I butchered that whole question there because it was cut in 6 different sections. I had to read backwards and forwards. Let me tell you, as a former real estate developer, that's how I got into this world. I started actually I grew up really as a kid with a dad who was a real estate developer. So I've been around that world my whole life. Did it right out of college, made a little bit of money, and learned a whole bunch. There is probably nobody on earth that is going to loan money to a startup real estate developer. And that was, and we weren't even a startup back then. And back when I was doing it, in the early part of the time, things were really booming. And you couldn't get typical institutional money without your own money. So to go up to somebody, to try to go into a bank and say, look, I want to buy, that building or that piece of land and I want to develop it or something else, at best, you'll be lucky if they say, fine, you put up 50%, we'll put up 50%.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky. So
a lot of people looking at doing that these days, though. They're starting to look at see opportunity, but you definitely need a bunch of cash of your own at minimum to get started.
The REITs, the real estate investment trusts, they're looking for massive plays of money where they can maybe buy an entire apartment complex or apartment complexes or a big massive building. And they'll come in with you as the lender, but they want your money right next to theirs, and they're just not going to throw money on it, because why? Why deal with you? If you have no risk in it, and they're putting up all the risk, hell, they can just go hire a guy,
right? Do it themselves.
Do it themselves. They go no percentage of the deal. We'll just pay you a salary. You go run the building to develop it. They don't need you, so you got to bring something to the table. Either a phenomenal amount of experience, a phenomenal amount of contacts, or a phenomenal amount of money,
or all the above.
Yes, and then the answer would be yes, all the above, and then they might deal with you. And so that's very, very difficult to raise money, and that's in this country. In other countries, it's almost impossible. What are you holding on to there?
I have a little article here that this is based out of Beijing, China, where a gal started with a nail salon, started lending money to different folks. She was ranked the 68th wealthiest person in the country in 2006.
In China.
In China.
So she started her own little nail salon and made it. She became one of the wealthiest people in the country.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
In 2006. All right. So she's buying Google today.
She was promising 80% annual interest rate returns. I think that's what started her troubles.
Okay, so she was gathering money together to loan to other businesses, and she was offering. So in order to attract investors,
I'm going to pull some money.
80% annual return.
They're going to build businesses, buy real estate, do different things.
Okay.
And the only problem is in China, there's a death penalty for being convicted of swindling investors out of money. It's steep, death penalty.
So she's on death row
since 2009 for being convicted of swindling 11 investors out of 380 million won, or $60.3 million in American funds. So $60 million. She's on death row. She's been there a while.
So in China, let me tell you what would happen in this country. There'd be a lot of dead rich white guys, or formerly rich white guys, because they. What was the bottom number? How many people a year does China put to death?
So they estimate 4,000 prisoners are executed in China in 2011. 4,000.
Wow. So I am a little bit familiar with that story. So, and actually her story, and I believe what they did is they actually communed her. They didn't commune her sentence. They put it back down to the courts. Mm-hmm. In order to be put to death in China, they have to go to the high court. The high court would not put her to death for that, but they didn't remove the sentence. But what they also did is they're changing the law in China that says, and I think this is maybe at the end of the day she ends up becoming a hero, in the small business world in China. She probably already is.
Yes. Because
what she was trying to do was there was no market, there was no way for a small business person to borrow money and start a business. So she was trying to help them doing that. Now, had she been offering 8% returns,
she'd probably still be okay.
She'd be able to make the payments. I mean, you know, to offer somebody 80% returns is to, first off, if you respond to an ad for an 80% return, you deserve to lose your money. You know, come over here. Let me hit you in the head with a hammer again.
Sooner or later, all good things don't continue.
So, but she started out with a noble idea and a noble cause, and she couldn't keep up with the kind of returns it took to attract people to do it. So did she swindle them out of their money? I guess if you offer someone 80% return and you don't pay it, you swindled them out of their money. I don't think a lot of the money went to herself. I think she went to other businesses that failed.
Right.
And that's what happens when you're investing in businesses. So, but I thought it was fascinating. I mean, you're on death row for financial crime in China.
30 years old, 30-year-old female.
Yeah, 30-year-old. She was once the 68th wealthiest person in the country. So think about that here. I'm just thinking, we've got a lot of people that would be swinging from a rope.
Yes.
And in this country. So anyway, we did get the correct answer. What was the answer to our quiz question for the mail?
Denmark at $1.46 a stamp.
$1.46 a stamp. Off the text line, hey Jeff from the 209, you would throw up in your mouth. Usually you can just stop right there. And the answer is pretty much I did. It sounds like I threw up in my mouth already. You would throw up in your mouth if you knew how much the post office wastes money. I totally agree with that, 209. Because you can put any federal bureaucracy, and I'm sure any one of them we can find money that would make you just throw up in your mouth. And we'll talk about that's a state, right?
That's a little town.
We'll talk about the horse lady when we come back in the second hour. John's got all the crazy women today. All
stuff.
All the women who've got some money issues. Usually we talk about all the old white guys. Now we're talking about all the women. Now we're going to catch up. We're going to equal offenders here on this show. 339-1140. We're going to take another break. I think I'll be able to hold in for hour two, I think. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. I'm interested, though. Do you think we should cut the United States Post Office loose, let them be a business, let them run like a business, run as a business, set their own pricing, hire, fire, close shops, open shops, paint their trucks bright orange? I don't care. It's their business. Should we cut the U.S. Postal Service loose? You can text us. We'll use that as a text during the break here, 44-1140. We'll pick one of our texters and give them a prize, too. Give them an IMAX movie pass. How about that?
Sounds great.
You want to do an hour two?
Hour two. Ding, ding.
Your voice sounds better than mine. We'll take a quick break. This is Talkin Money. My name is Jeff Tarbell. That's John Fodorero from Comstock Mortgage, and we'll be
right back.